Most people dream of a perfect vacation, clear skies, calm waters, and adventure. But for some, the trip turned into a nightmare they never escaped. In this video, we'll uncover 5 real cases where tourists were eaten alive while traveling. These aren't myths or rumors. These are true and horrifying stories that happened in the wild, in the ocean, and in places where help was too far away. What started as a holiday ended in one of the most disturbing ways possible. It was March 10, 2025, along the peaceful coastline of Western Australia. Stephen Payne, a 37-year-old man from New Zealand, was 5 weeks into a 6-month road trip across the country. He was traveling with his longtime partner, Catherine Birch, and their dog, Poppy. That morning, they had arrived at Wharton Beach, a well-known surf spot about 93 kilometers east of Esperance. Stephen, a skilled surfer who had been recovering from testicular cancer for the past 3 years, was excited to hit the water again. Stephen first learned to surf while studying at the University of Otago in New Zealand and kept the hobby going after moving to Geelong in Victoria. He worked as a sales and marketing director in Melbourne and also volunteered as a firefighter. People who knew him described him as calm, dependable, and kind. He and Catherine had been together for 12 years and had adopted Poppy 7 years earlier. They were both nature lovers and often went swimming and surfing together. Just a week earlier, Stephen had surfed what he called the best wave of his life, with a dolphin swimming beside him. The weather that day was calm and sunny. Catherine sat on the sand reading a book while Poppy relaxed nearby. At around 10:15 a.m., Stephen headed into the water with 2 other surfers. He paddled out about 50 meters from shore into chest-deep water. For the next 90 minutes, everything appeared normal. Then Catherine noticed something unusual. She walked closer to the water and saw a sun hat floating. It was Stephen's, one he always wore while surfing. That's when she realized something was very wrong. Stephen was being attacked in the water. Other surfers nearby noticed it too. One scrambled onto a nearby rock while another rushed back to shore. Stephen, however, didn't make it. Witnesses saw a large shark strike him with great force. People nearby heard shouting, then it all went quiet. A tourist flying a drone over the beach happened to catch the entire incident on video, which was later reviewed by the police. The shark was identified as a great white, estimated to be around 3.2 to 3.5 meters long. DNA on Stephen's damaged surfboard confirmed this. The footage showed him being pulled underwater, followed by a wide circle of blood. He never came back up. Authorities said his injuries could not have been survived and that he likely passed quickly. Emergency crews were called, but due to how remote the beach was, they arrived about 40 minutes later. By then, it was no longer a rescue operation. Only a few items were found. Stephen's sun hat, some foam from the front of his board, and part of his wetsuit. His body was never recovered. Stephen owned a shark deterrent device, but he hadn't used it that day. Just a few days earlier, he and Catherine had skipped surfing at Granite's Beach in South Australia after hearing about another shark encounter. They had talked about using their deterrents, but believed Wharton Beach would be safe. There were no shark monitoring towers at Wharton Beach. The nearest ones were at Twilight Beach, West Beach, and Kelp Beds, which didn't cover the area. A nearby detection site picked up a shark shortly after the attack, but it was too late. The entire event lasted only minutes. One witness recalled seeing a fin circling Stephen's surfboard, which was left floating 30 meters from shore. The water around the object had turned dark. Another witness recalled that they had heard a scream and then everyone ran out, but only the board remained. The search ended after 2 days. Divers weren't sent out due to safety concerns. Catherine had seen the whole thing from shore. She knew Stephen was gone. His family later said he had deep respect for marine life and wouldn't have wanted anything done to the shark. Stephen was remembered as kind, loyal, and full of energy. Though his body was never found, the coroner's court confirmed what had happened. His passing left a deep impact on those who knew him. He was the 3rd person to lose their life to a shark in that region since 2017. Locals began demanding better shark detection at remote beaches. But for many surfers, the ocean still feels like home. For Stephen, it always had been. It was March 26, 2016, in Indonesia's remote Raja Ampat Islands. Sergei Likvar, a 37-year-old tourist from Kolomna, Moscow, had been traveling through Southeast Asia after leaving his job. He loved adventure and exploring new places. That morning, Sergei went snorkeling near Minyefun Island, a quiet area known for its coral reefs and clear water. It seemed like a peaceful outing, but Sergei never came back. He had snorkeled in Indonesia before and usually went with a guide or in a group, which is strongly advised in that region due to rough waters and dangerous wildlife. But this time, he went alone. Minyefun is part of the Raja Ampat Islands in West Papua. It's far from major cities and popular tourist spots. While it's a favorite location for divers, locals know it for strong underwater currents, sharp rocks, and large saltwater crocodiles. These animals live throughout the region. Though rare, there have been incidents involving people, but it's not common for a foreign tourist to be harmed. When Sergei didn't return, friends first thought he might have stayed out longer or lost track of time. But after a full day passed with no sign of him, they grew worried. Knowing Sergei was always cautious in the water, they reported him missing the next day. Local search and rescue teams quickly got involved, led by Regional Officer Prasecchio Budiarto. His team began checking the coastline and nearby waters. They knew conditions there were dangerous. Strong currents could carry someone far from shore. If Sergei had been caught in one, his body might have already drifted miles away. On March 30th, 4 days after he went missing, the team found something disturbing. Sergei's body was discovered floating near a reef close to where he had entered the water. A large saltwater crocodile was seen swimming nearby, but slipped into deeper water as rescuers approached. The body showed signs of a violent encounter. One of Sergei's hands was gone, and there was a deep wound across his left hip. Other injuries suggested he had been pulled underwater. Based on these injuries, rescuers were sure he had been attacked by a crocodile. Experts believe the attack happened near the edge of a reef, an area where the sea floor drops suddenly and predators often wait. Saltwater crocodiles are known to stay hidden just below the surface and strike quickly. These animals are the world's largest reptiles. Male crocodiles can grow over 16 feet long, and some reports suggest they can be even larger. They are strong enough to pull heavy prey underwater, and once they bite, it's nearly impossible to escape. Sergei likely never saw it coming. His body was taken by boat to Sorong, a town about 2 hours away. Authorities then contacted the Russian embassy. Following the family's wishes, Sergei was cremated. His cousin, Elena Likvar, later explained how difficult it was for the family. Because of the remote location and international rules, they had to contact several government departments just to get clear information. Eventually, someone from the family was able to travel and bring his ashes home. News of Sergei's death quickly spread in both Russia and Indonesia. While crocodile attacks do happen, it's extremely rare for a tourist to lose their life this way. The event shocked both the diving and travel communities. Experts explained that saltwater crocodiles often live in mangroves, coastal waters, and sometimes even in deeper areas or open reefs. This makes certain parts of Raja Ampat too risky for solo snorkeling, especially without local advice or safety support. Locals were not surprised that a crocodile was found there. That stretch of water is known for dangerous currents, rocky seabeds, and poor visibility. Even experienced snorkelers are warned not to swim alone. Authorities confirmed that Sergei had gone into the water without checking with locals. It's unclear if he was aware of the danger, but going alone in that area led to a tragic outcome. The case was closed shortly after, with the official cause of death linked to the injuries from the crocodile. Sergei's passing remains one of the few times a visitor has lost their life this way in Indonesia. His story is a chilling example of how nature, while beautiful, can also be unpredictable and dangerous. It was September 26, 2024, off the coast of Pulau Riong Island in Indonesia. Colleen Monfort, a 68-year-old retired mother from Holland, Michigan, had just started a 7-week diving tour with her husband Mike. For them, this wasn't unusual. The couple had spent decades diving together all over the world. Colleen was experienced, cautious, and respected by the diving community. That morning, Colleen was diving with 6 friends and a tour guide. The waters near Pulau Riong are known for their beauty, but can be unpredictable. Around 9 a.m., they entered the water. Not long after, a strong current hit the group. They tried to stay together, but Colleen got separated. The guide tried to help her back, but the current was too strong. Eventually, the group had to turn around. No one saw what happened to Colleen after that. She never made it back to the surface. She was last seen about 24 feet underwater, with her air tank only half full. Although there was a down current, experienced divers didn't consider the area dangerous. One of her closest friends, Kim Sass, later said the conditions were manageable. Rescue teams searched the area for 8 days using helicopters, boats, and divers, but there were no signs of Colleen. On October 3rd, the search was officially stopped. The sea had become too rough, and after 8 days, the chances of survival were low. Then something unexpected happened. On October 6th, a fisherman in East Timor, over 70 miles from where Colleen disappeared, caught a shark. It wasn't behaving normally, so he assumed it had swallowed plastic or fishing gear. But when he opened it, he found human remains inside, along with part of a black wetsuit. News spread fast and Colleen's name resurfaced. Authorities from East Timor and Indonesia got involved. Although the shark was caught outside Indonesian waters, officials suspected a link. They ran fingerprint tests. The results confirmed the remains were Colleen's. The reaction was immediate and complicated. To many, it sounded like a shark had attacked her, but her close friends, Rick and Kim Sass, disagreed. They had dived with Colleen for decades and ran a dive shop for over 40 years. They believed something else happened. They reviewed the dive data, photos, and spoke with Mike. After going over everything, they concluded that Colleen didn't lose her life because of an animal. Here's why. Sharks digest food quickly, so if Colleen had been eaten days earlier, her body wouldn't be intact. Yet her remains were still identifiable, with clear fingerprints. Shark attacks on divers are rare, especially in Indonesia, which has recorded only 11 unprovoked cases since 1749, mostly involving people in shallow water, not trained divers. Kim believed Colleen may have had a medical emergency underwater. Perhaps she lost consciousness or had an internal issue. This would explain why she didn't respond or return to the surface. She later wrote online that she didn't believe the ocean or a shark was the reason Colleen died. Mike agreed. Even after losing his wife in such a sudden and painful way, he said she wouldn't want a shark to be blamed. But one more detail made things harder. The shark that had swallowed Colleen's remains was killed. While this allowed authorities to recover her and determine what had happened, her loved ones believed Colleen wouldn't have wanted that. Rick explained that she loved nature and would have been heartbroken. Authorities in both countries are still investigating. The diving gear confirmed the remains belonged to a diver. Whether Colleen passed away before being found by the shark or not is still unclear. The timeline is strange. She disappeared on September 26th. Her remains were found on October, 10 days later. Yet her body and wetsuit were still in decent condition. That supports the theory that she was already gone before the shark found her. Mike has been overwhelmed. Because of the 12-hour time difference, he's been taking calls late at night, trying to bring Colleen home. Friends say he's exhausted and heartbroken. This trip was meant to be the adventure of a lifetime. Instead, Colleen's life ended far from home, in the ocean she loved. Her friends remember her as calm, kind, and deeply respectful of the sea. Even now, they ask people not to focus on the shark, but to remember her for who she was, a skilled diver who passed away doing what she loved. It was August 24, 2015, in Hwanga National Park, Zimbabwe. Quinn Swales, a 40-year-old safari guide, was leading a walking tour early in the morning. He worked for Camp Hwanga, a lodge that offered close-up wildlife experiences on foot. This kind of tour was normal for Quinn. He had done it many times before. He knew the area well and was highly respected in the guiding community. Before this, he had worked as a pilot, but chose to return to the bush, where he felt most at home. That morning, Quinn was guiding tourists tracking fresh lion prints, a popular way to see African wildlife up close. Known for his calm and safety skills, he led them to a pride with 2 males, 2 females, and 2 cubs. One male, Nshaha, wore a tracking collar and was easily recognized for having only 1 testicle. He was often compared to Cecil, a lion killed just a month earlier in the same park. Cecil's death, after being lured from a protected area and shot, sparked global outrage and scrutiny of Zimbabwe's hunting practices. Quinn was aware of the controversy and had even posted about Cecil weeks before. That day, everything seemed normal. Quinn and the group moved carefully through the area, but then, without warning, Nshaha charged. Lions don't usually attack unless they feel threatened. With cubs nearby, Nshaha likely saw the group as a danger. He reacted fast, too fast for Quinn to use his rifle. Quinn immediately stepped between the lion and his guests. Witnesses said he didn't hesitate. He stood in front of Nshaha, trying to protect the group. The lion reached him in seconds and attacked, biting Quinn in the shoulder and neck. The guests started shouting, and eventually the noise made the lion back off, but the injuries were too severe. Quinn died at the scene. The guests were shaken but unharmed. They used a radio to call Camp Hwanga, and staff arrived quickly. Sadly, there was nothing they could do. Shelley Cox from African Bush Camps confirmed Quinn's death, saying his actions showed his training, skill, and bravery. News of Quinn's death spread quickly, especially because it happened so soon after Cecil's story. But this time it wasn't about hunting. It was about a man who gave everything to protect others. Friends and colleagues paid tribute to him. One former co-worker said Quinn had always dreamed of returning to the wild. Nshaha had been seen as unpredictable before. Earlier that year, another lodge had warned people about him. They called him dangerous, but also described seeing him as a rare experience. Despite the risk, Quinn had done what he always did, followed the tracks and protected his group. Camp Hwanga later confirmed all the details and said he was fully trained and experienced. Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife also confirmed that Nshaha was wearing a tracking collar, just like Cecil. Quinn's employer, David Carson, praised his actions and said Quinn faced the danger without fear. His death showed the real risks safari guides face daily. These guides are the ones who keep guests safe in wild, unpredictable environments. Quinn followed every rule. He wasn't harming the animals, he was protecting both them and the people who came to see them. His story isn't about a mistake, it's about someone who did everything right and still paid the highest price. Quinn Swales died doing what he loved, and in his final moments he made a choice that saved others. It was July 2025 in Romania's Carpathian Mountains. Omar Farangzin, a 49-year-old motorcyclist from Samarate, Italy, had taken a solo trip through the Transfagarasan Highway, known for its beautiful views and sharp curves. Omar had worked at Milan Malpensa Airport and was known for his love of nature and solo road trips. On this journey, he was hoping to see wildlife, especially bears. Omar often posted updates from his travels. His Facebook page had become a travel diary. On June 30th, just a day before his death, he shared photos and videos of himself riding through the mountain road and standing dangerously close to wild brown bears. In one picture, he pointed at a bear cub while smiling. In a video, he passed an adult bear and spoke in Italian, saying how beautiful it looked as it approached him. He didn't seem scared. In fact, he looked fascinated. The next morning, July 1st, Omar returned to the same area near Lake Vidraro in Arge County. This part of the road is surrounded by thick forest. At some point, he stopped his motorcycle, likely after spotting the same bear. this time with 3 cubs. Ignoring clear signs posted nearby warning tourists to stay away from wildlife, Omar allegedly tried to give food to the bear. Photos later found on his phone showed the bear coming toward him, with several close-up shots taken just seconds before the attack. Authorities believe Omar was still taking pictures or trying to feed the animal when it charged. According to witnesses, the adult female bear ran at him suddenly. She was likely trying to protect her cubs. She attacked him on the roadside, then dragged him down a steep ravine about 260 feet deep toward the lake. Passing tourists saw parts of the incident and quickly called for help. Emergency teams, including firefighters, police, and forest rangers, arrived shortly after. It took them nearly an hour to find Omar's body. Despite wearing a helmet and full motorcycle gear, his injuries were too severe. He had died before help could reach him. Rescue workers said the bear was still nearby, agitated and pacing. One mountain rescue officer said the animal even followed and threatened the team during recovery. Because of the risk, Romanian authorities later made the decision to remove the bear. Omar's death made headlines in both Romania and Italy. Friends and former co-workers flooded his Facebook page with messages. Some called him kind, adventurous, and deeply loved. One person wrote, "You didn't deserve to go this way." But the event also raised serious concerns. Romania has one of the largest brown bear populations in Europe, with about 10,000 to 13,000 bears across the country. Over time, human expansion like construction and deforestation has forced these animals closer to roads and cities. Many now search for food in garbage left behind by tourists. Bear-related incidents have been increasing. In the last 20 years, nearly 30 people have lost their lives and many more have been hurt. Because of this, Romania recently raised its yearly limit for bear removal from 220 to 481. Some believe it's necessary for public safety, but others say better trash control and public awareness would help more. Just last year, a 19-year-old woman was taken by a bear while hiking. In another case, a 72-year-old tourist was attacked after opening her car window to take a photo. She survived, but with serious injuries. Omar's case was one of the most public. His phone showed just how close he had gotten to the bears. In one clip, he was riding by as a bear sat on a roadside barrier. In another, he stood only a few feet away from a bear cub. Officials later said that Omar was not trying to cause harm, he was just curious. But with wild animals, especially mothers with young, the line between safe and dangerous is very thin. Omar's final photos captured a man enjoying nature, unaware that those moments would be his last.